Today we're going to be hiking on the Mount Warner Trail, which is part of the Trustees. The Trustees are an organization that gets land and preserves it. They turn it into trails and places to hike and visit in Massachusetts. So here's the gravel driveway that you pull into to come hike at Mount Warner. They have a pretty nice parking lot here, pretty good sized. There aren't many cars here today. This is the trail map, which is right at the beginning of the trail here at Mount Warner. Mount Warner is part of the Trustees in Hadley, Massachusetts. It's about a 2-mile hike. The yellow loop here shows you you are here, which is where we are right now at the parking. And it goes around and you see vernal pools, glacier rocks, and some beautiful scenery as well. And this is a dog-friendly trail, so we brought Newton with us. Newton is named after Sir Isaac Newton.
He's very excited.
And he's excited to go on our adventure today. As you come in the small trail from the parking lot, just a few hundred meters in, you're greeted with this sign that says Salamander Loop, and it's got a small map of Salamander Loop, which is what we're going to be taking. You can go clockwise or counterclockwise around this loop, and we're going to be taking a left here and going around Salamander Loop. And I think Newton is ready to go. The yellow blazes painted on the trees mark the main trail, which is called Salamander Loop. Here at Mount Warner, they have several glacier rocks dotting the landscape. So there's some right there, moss covered, a couple right here in the trail that we're walking around. And these were left here by glacier retreat tens of thousands of years ago. Here's a nice little bridge. There's no water under it right now. It's been very dry. But when there is water running, this bridge will keep your feet dry. And right after that, you go over this nice little wooden bridge to protect you from the runoff after rain and in the spring when things are a little bit more wet. So there's a trail right here that cuts through and makes the loop a little bit shorter, but it's closed and just for authorized vehicle and people to cut through. So we're going to continue on the main trail, Salamander Loop. Here's a point in the trail with an intersection of several trails. The other two trails that go off past this sign, I think, lead to private property and people's yards. But there's a map and a sign to keep you on the Mount Warner Trail and the Salamander Loop right here. And that's the way we're going to go. Let's go, little Newton. Come on. Here's Lou's Rock, which is a really large boulder left here by glacier retreat tens of thousands of years ago. And you can walk around the back side of it and get to see like just how big this boulder is hanging out here in the forest. We're still circling around and coming back on the main trail right here. So this is known as Lou's Rock here at Mount Warner. So we're up here on the top of Lou's Rock, overlooking the forest and overlooking Tammy and little Newton down there as well. So here's one of several little frogs that we've seen hopping around near this vernal pool. The vernal pool is dried up. There's one little tiny speck of water that's probably difficult to see in this film right here. But if you come in the springtime, this is filled with water, and it's a great breeding ground for amphibians, frogs, and salamanders to come and reproduce. Here are some old concrete footings. They still have some bolts in them. There's one of them. There's another one right here. and the trail comes right over these footings. On the other side of the rock, there's a third one right down there. And according to the sign, when you come in, there are remnants of an old fire tower here. There's an old US survey marker embedded into the rock right here in the middle of the trail as you're hiking along here at Mount Warner. So we're coming up on a sign that tells you a little bit about vernal pools. And this is a larger vernal pool that's dry right now, but in the springtime, this is a great place for amphibians like salamanders and frogs to come and lay their eggs. You can see the picture here that shows you what it looks like in the spring when it's all filled with water. And then we're in late summer, so it's kind of dried up. It's been a dry summer this year as well. And here we're coming up on the fire access road right there, which leads into the water towers right here. And the two combined together, the Salamander Loop trail and the fire access road, merged together for a little bit. You can see on the map right here is where the two come together right there. So we decided to take a walk on the fire access road to see the water tower here on Mount Warner. So we're continuing our walk on the Salamander Loop here on the Mount Warner Trail. Here's a view of the two water tanks taken from the Salamander Loop. If you just hike around the Salamander Loop, you can see the two water tanks from below. And we're going to continue on the Salamander Loop. And we're coming up on another small wooden bridge to go over what is typically a stream in wetter times, but it's been pretty dry this year, so not a whole lot of water there. So we're coming up on the end of the Salamander Loop, and we're going to be taking the trail that heads back to the parking lot. So we're on the final stretch heading back to the parking lot. It was a great day for a hike. The Mount Warner Trail is a very nice trail, dog friendly. It's a nice walk, good hike.